Your feelings after that performance and result? Obviously disappointing. We didn't play how we can play. We're the best team on the right one. John McGinn used the word embarrassing after the game. Is that a sentiment that you share? No, after my time in the game. It's better not to use that kind of word. It's to look at the performance and be objective about it. We didn't have enough energy in the team. Greece had more energy. They were a little bit sharper. The best team won on the night. You said before the game that you wanted to lay down a marker with this result. Where does this leave you? Is that a warning ahead of the World Cup? We've got the opposite. I think Greece came here and laid down a marker. We know what to expect when they come back in October. We'll be ready. Robert, do you think the players will be hurting in the back of this? Do you think the players will be hurting in the back of this? League campaign on such a low note and such a poor performance is something that will hurt the players, so they'll go away. We've got plenty of time to stew on it before our next competitive game. We've got 2 friendlies in June where we have to address 1 or 2 things and try to be better going forward. I know it's early, but sitting here right now, do you think you could have freshened things up a little bit more in the back of Thursday night? It's possible. It's possible. With hindsight, everything's possible. You know, the boys assured me they were all fitting well. I think the first goal gave them a lift. Really, their first dangerous foray forward. They scored with that. After that, it became a long night for us. I could have done with a few more legs on the team, to be honest. Some of the fans made their feelings known. There were some boos at halftime and also at the end of the game. How do you feel about that? I didn't really notice them, to be honest. I'm focused on other things other than what the supporters are doing. I always have been. Steve, when you say not enough energy on the team and could have done with some more legs, is that a physical thing, a mental thing, a personnel thing? Why do you think that happened? I think maybe it might work in our favor, actually, because we have to do a similar trip in November out to Greece. Maybe something to look at. You go out there, you put in a big shift out there, you have the long travel back. Maybe we weren't quite recovered in time for the game. Not everybody, but some people. It's something that I can certainly look at and try and address. Michael? Steve, the finishing was clinical from them, but were you disappointed with the defending from our point of view? I wasn't overly disappointed with the defenders. I thought the back 4 did reasonably okay. I was disappointed with the defending of the team. We didn't defend as a team on Thursday night in Greece. We defended as a team from back to front. We didn't do that in this game. That's why we got punished. Steve, you've obviously got 2 finalists here in the summer before the World Cup qualifiers. Do you think you'll need to change quite a few things, or do you think the basis is still there of the squad? Listen, like I said, we've had a decent run. This is a bump in the road. If there's one thing I've learned over my time in charge of the national team, is there are bumps in the road. It's how you react to it. We have to react to this one and make sure that come June we know what we're trying to address, and come September we know what we're trying to do, which is qualify for the World Cup. Okay, last one's Gabriel. Steve, you were talking there about you weren't pleased with the defensive side of the team, but you were pleased in Athens on Thursday night. Were you surprised by the drop-off in just those 4 days, the difference in performances? Obviously, we weren't expecting to get the performance we got tonight. So you can use the word surprise, but football doesn't really surprise you. You know that sometimes this can happen. Like I said before, it's hopefully just
a bittersweet few weeks for Anthony Gordon, with Newcastle winning a Carabao Cup in his absence, followed now by an injury suffered during his first England appearance under Thomas Tuchel. Rob Dorset has the latest.
Huge disappointment for Anthony Gordon, you have to say, on as a late substitute in Thomas Tuchel's first match in charge, and he looked in quite a lot of discomfort at the final whistle with what looked to be a hip injury. He has now withdrawn from the squad and has gone back to Newcastle for further assessment. The only slight glimmer of good news there for Eddie Howe is that Newcastle don't play until the 2nd of April again at home to Brentford, so he's got maybe 10 days or so to try and recover and get fit again. But a huge blow to him as all of the England players look to try and impress the new England manager. we knew already that Thomas Tuchel was looking at his options in those wide attacking areas and may shake things up, because he spoke after the game against Albania about his disappointment with the performances from Marcus Rashford on the left wing and Phil Foden on the right wing. He's now missing one of the possible replacements for one of those two in Anthony Gordon, but that does present opportunities for Eberechi Eze, Morgan Rogers and Jared Bowen as well, of course, the other three wingers in the squad. Be interesting to see what Thomas Tuchel has to say about those and what his thinking is for this next game against Latvia, another World Cup qualifier tomorrow night at Wembley. Does he want to change the whole of the starting 11 and try and look at other options so he can learn as much about the players? Or is he going to put out what he thinks is the strongest possible 11? Because, of course, it is a World Cup qualifier and he wants to start with two convincing wins. So we'll be hearing from Thomas Tuchel a little bit later on. We'll bring that to you live, of course, on Sky Sports News. Then we'll see England train for the final time before that game later on this afternoon. So stay with us on Sky Sports News. A big day for England as they prepare for what is only Thomas Tuchel's second game in charge as England manager. And remember, the schedule's changed as well. You'll see I hinted there that everything's in reverse. Under Gareth Southgate, the players would be training in the morning. They'd do their media duties in the afternoon. It's all turned on its head with Thomas Tuchel. So join us about midday when we should hear from the England manager live.
Have a roundup of the morning's papers now, shall we? Start with the Mirror, who are among a number of papers actually reporting that Napoli are ready to offer Manchester United striker Rasmus Højlund a return to Serie A, with Victor Osimhen going to Old Trafford as part of a deal. Now, the paper's reporting that Manchester United would want £50 million for the Denmark international. The price, they say, is too much for the Italian club. Well, the Daily Mail have an exclusive interview with former England interim boss Lee Carsley, who says he stands by not singing the national anthem and believes there was an overreaction to his choice. In a wide-ranging interview, Carsley spoke in detail about how he dealt with the pressures of one of the biggest jobs in England and what areas he believes must be improved on to win a World Cup. Meanwhile, the Times are reporting that Newcastle Falcons are at risk of losing their place in the Gallagher Premiership. They cannot find a new investor. The club is up for sale, but so far no buyer has been found. They're the fourth top-tier club to struggle in recent times, with London Irish, Wasps and Worcester all going bust in the last 3 years.
Difficult to be too critical of the team. I must say that's one of the worst performances I've seen from Liverpool in a cup final, probably going back for a very long time. But they've given so much this season, and probably in a position in terms of the league title where no one really expected. They've lost one league game. They've lost here tonight, and they've lost one Champions League game, really. I mean, they've lost in the FA Cup and maybe a dead rubber in the Champions League. But in the main, I think they've probably lost 3 or 4 games that they've really wanted to win all season. So I think what this last week has done is probably shone a light on where Liverpool still need to improve in. And I think the lack of pace in the team, I think, is glaring in the attack. And I almost feel a little bit sorry for Mo Salah, because he's taken a little bit of criticism after the 2 Paris Saint-Germain games, because he was up against possibly the best left-back in the world in Mendes, who was fantastic. He didn't do too much. He wasn't great today, but he doesn't get help off the other attackers. This is not like it was under Jurgen Klopp, where Mane could bail Liverpool out of trouble, or Firmino. The other attackers Liverpool have got are good players. They're not great players. And they've relied on him so far. So I don't want to see too much criticism for Mo Salah over this last week. What it's shone a light in is that Liverpool need to go and buy 2 attackers, not as squad players, possibly to play alongside Mo Salah, hopefully, for next season. So I think that's what's happened in the last week. I've been excited, thinking, looks like Liverpool are going to win the league, and there's still lots to improve. So I'm not just saying this on the back of the team losing, but I still think there's a lot of areas for Liverpool to improve, and I think they will in the summer.
He said taller, stronger, and when referring to Newcastle, and they were clever in their game plan today in going long, which gave Liverpool nothing to press. If you are an opposition manager going for, if you're David Moyes ahead of the Merseyside derby, are you taking note of that?
Well, they'll do that anyway, Everton. That's obviously.
Well, yeah, my point,
make
exactly,
it really difficult for them. But he stood next to you 2 guys and he bumped into you and he said there's going to be a lot of those sort of collisions, and that's something you have to always take into consideration. But I wasn't surprised about Newcastle play today, and I don't think for 1 second that Liverpool would have been. I don't think he wanted to take away anything from what they did. They played so well, but I don't for 1 second think that result on Tuesday, going at 120 minutes, extra time, losing on penalties, how tired and difficult it would have been to go again. And he went with us pretty much the same team, but you've also taken out, like, such a lot of their creativity about Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, because he will just create one thing. I looked at Liverpool today and just thought, where's that bit of spark, that creativity going to come from? They really missed him as well. Gakpo's obviously not quite right at the moment. But again, you can't take anything away from what Newcastle did. They were magnificent. I remember I spoke to Jason Tindley before the game. He went, it couldn't have gone better for us, really. The fact that they had to go through the wire on Tuesday and make it so difficult for them, they felt they could use that to advantage if they started well and got after Liverpool, and that's exactly what they did.
I think a big thing this season that stood out, and it's probably come back to bite him on the backside a little bit today, the manager, he doesn't change the team. Now we're getting used to the manager. We don't know if this is his way that he's always done when he just picks his best team, and it's probably put Liverpool in a great position to win the league title. It also shows you that in this league as well, they almost look like they're running out of steam and legs, and the fact that he's very reticent to change the team or give the head to some players who don't normally play week in, week out, meant he still almost played his best team against Southampton, one of the worst teams we've seen in the Premier League. It was at Anfield, because he still felt, I can't take the risk in terms of maybe bringing players off the bench to play in this game. So that's something I think going forward in terms of improving the squad, so he can actually change players like Gravenberch, who looked tired today, Szoboszlai, McAllister. He never changes that midfield really, and again, that's probably something he's got to learn next season. He's got to probably trust the squad a little bit more, that if they want to go further in the Champions League.
The last time we did that, it got knocked out against Plymouth. So he probably thinks, like, can't really trust them.
And changing 10 players.
Well, I know, but James, if he leaves out a load of players today and they lose, we stand here and go, well, why has he done that today? So you can't really win, can you?
No, I'm talking about maybe changing 2 or 3 players and saying he plays his best team almost every game, and that's put Liverpool in the position that they are. But I think going forward, if Liverpool, want to obviously go further in the Champions League, I do think he's probably got to be a little bit braver with his squad, but that will come with basically better players in his squad.
Everybody in football is guilty of this. You're 90 minutes away from glory, you're 90 minutes away from a catastrophe, you know what I mean? Like the roof's caving in and everything. Is his biggest task over the next 10 days or whatever, with players away on international duty, just to make sure everything just stays calm? They've got a 12-point lead at the top of the Premier League.
At the start,
not everything is caving in.
No, well, at the start of the week we were talking about them doing it, the possibility of them doing a treble, and within a week they're now just looking at the league, and fatigue and as you said, that game took so much out of them on Tuesday night. And coming here today, I was thinking to myself, Newcastle, if they could get at them, and if you're the manager, you're thinking, well, okay, we've gone out, but what better game could you go into today, playing in a cup final, to lift your players again? If it was a league game, you would have probably gone, changed 2 or 3 players, but because it was a cup final, you was probably thinking, your energy is going to come from that. So I wouldn't criticise him too much for not changing the team. It was when it started to go wrong, how quickly he didn't change it quick enough for me. It was he probably could have done it a bit quicker to get some more fresh legs on there. But at the start, I would have probably gone with the same side, because I would have thought probably they could get lifted.
Yeah, take nothing away from their manager. The job he's done has been phenomenal. I know they've had a disappointing week, Les is right, treble at the start of the week, now they're only on for the Premier League. But if you said to any Liverpool fan at the start of this season, you'll win the Premier League and nothing else, they would have snapped your hands off. They really would, because Jurgen Klopp was at the club for 8 years, and everyone was nervous, going, who's this guy coming in? There's going to be a massive drop off, panic stations, what's going to happen? He's came in, he's added maybe 1 player, Chiesa, I think it is, not many players extra. He's worked with the squad he's been given, and the job he's done in the Premier League is just phenomenal. So you've got to give this guy great credit for what he's done.
I think what Shay says there is important. Even if you were a Man City or Chelsea, who notoriously have won a lot of Premier League titles, he said that about any manager, you're going to win the league, no matter what else happens, you bite your hand off. But we're talking about Liverpool. They've won it once in 35 years now. So, the Premier League is absolutely massive to this club and what they could do, and it still is going to be, fingers crossed, if everything goes to plan, an unbelievable season, because we aren't a club, unfortunately, that have, in sort of the last 30 years, have won titles every few years. It hasn't happened, so it could be still a very special season.